Before the pod gets started, go ahead and leave us a rating on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever else you listen to the pod. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. We've been away for a little bit of time enjoying the Christmas break and all of the festive football. And instead of rushing out any pods that we weren't too happy with, we decided to store up 4 games worth of content and give you a little bit of a bumper special. But I can't break down any of these games alone, and I'm of course joined by my brother James. Good evening, James. Welcome back to the podcast. Feels like a while.
Good evening, mate. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? There's been quite a lot that's gone on since we've last had a chat. There's 4 games, which we'll touch on briefly. We managed to get to one of them. We went to Stoke,
Yes.
and we're sitting down here a couple of hours after we just drew 3-3 against Plymouth. So yeah, mate, it's been good. Did you have a good break? Good Christmas?
Yeah, very good. Football on the pitch was very mixed, but didn't dictate my happiness throughout the festive period too much. So that was
Yeah.
positive. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But of course, we've got to begin with guess the player, and we couldn't miss this one out. So James, I am providing the clues this week. You are actually guessing. It is 6-all. I had I had a nightmare. Trying to guess Daniel Tozer of all people last week. So
Yeah, you did.
I'm hoping that I can throw you off with some of these clues and stop you from getting the big 3-pointer. So are you ready for clue 1?
I am ready. Yeah, hit me.
Okay, so I started my career in 2008 for the biggest club in England at the time, going on to make 55 appearances for them over a 7-year period.
Oh, 2008. Started the career in 2008 for the biggest club in the UK,
At
in
the
England,
time.
sorry.
Yeah,
At the
biggest club in
time.
England at the time.
This seems quite divisive as a statement, but I suppose there are probably not many of those big 6 fans listening to this, I guess. But I'm going to
We're
take
quite a
that as,
niche market here.
yeah, I'm going to take that, mate, as maybe a Premier League champion. So 2008 would probably be Man United. And made 55 appearances for United over a 7-year period.
Mm. I'll give you a little extra bonus bit. 2008 until 2015.
2015.
That's when they left.
Finally left the club. Oh. Oh, don't know, mate. Okay. So I think I've worked it down to narrowed it down to United. I'm gonna have to guess Tom Cleverley.
Oh, you know what? He's only gone and done it.
Get in there.
3
Come
points.
on.
3 points. You know what? Fair
Yes.
play. Fair play.
I've done it again.
I kind of realised as I read that clue out that it could only really be one person.
Well, I'll be honest with you, mate. It was either him or Craig Cathcart I was thinking of there.
That's very
So
true. Very true.
I was trying to think of any other United players. Well, there you go. 9-6 to me. And again, I've got it off the rip. Well, that's not good for the rest of the pod, is it?
Well, no, but you know what? We'll model through. We've got another little quiz for the viewers to look forward to in a little bit. Do you want to hear clue 2 and 3? Just for the sake
go on.
of
Yeah, go on.
Right. Okay. So the clue 2 would have been I joined Watford on loan twice during my career before signing for the Hornets in 2017 to then make 137 appearances for them over the 6 years I was at the club.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been Tommy C.
Interesting, actually. He obviously joined us on loan in 2010. And
He
then
did, yeah, and a great season. Didn't he win the Player of the Season
I
award?
think he might have done. He scored 11 goals in 30 odd games or something that season. But then
Yeah,
he actually joined us on loan again in 2017 before signing for us, which I thought was quite
yeah.
interesting. So I
Yeah. Interesting was that.
thought that might have hinted at to you who that was. But then the final clue was I recently became the under-18s coach at Watford. So if you
Oh,
didn't get
yeah.
that one, I'd have been very, very confused and quite concerned.
Yeah. Well, I got it. 9-6 to me, mate. And
Perfect. Well done to you. Well done.
thank you. I'm going to put my foot down on this competition now, so I'm going to pull away. Hopefully
Oh,
not do a Watford and let you back in straight away. But
mm,
nice.
I like what you did there. All right, so James, over this festive period, Watford have played 4 matches and have accumulated 5 points. So we started with Blackburn. That was a brilliant 2-1 win away from home, really leaving it late. Followed up by a 4-1 loss at home to Bristol City, and then 2 draws on the bounce, 1-1 against Stoke at home on Friday, and then today, this afternoon, a 3-3 draw away from home against
Mm.
Plymouth to kick off 2024. So, James, any sort of key themes that we can put together across the festive period for Watford?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the things that have jumped out to me really is defensively, we've struggled. I think we've given away some very soft goals, and we've given ourselves uphill battles in, well, all of those games actually.
Mm,
Obviously, having to come from behind against Blackburn, having to sort of the Stoke game. Well, we can talk about the Stoke game in a minute, but
mm,
and today's game, the Plymouth game, we're just letting teams in, and it feels like they're not really having to work too hard for the goals that they're scoring against us.
yeah,
Because I still feel like overall we've played pretty well actually,
yeah,
minus
yeah.
the Bristol City game. Um, we've played pretty well. We've looked good going forward, but I'm a bit concerned that we're becoming a little bit more vulnerable at the back. And I'm just a bit concerned about us defensively at the moment. And I think, yeah, like I said, we've shipped quite a few avoidable goals, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, well, when you think about it, it's 1 goal conceded to Blackburn, 1 for Stoke, 4 for Bristol, and then 3 for Plymouth. So you're adding those up together, and you're getting how many is that? 9 goals conceded in 4 games. Is that?
Yeah, 9-4, and it's 10-5 if you include the Preston game. So it's 2 goals a game we're conceding at the moment,
Yeah,
which is a worry in my opinion.
yeah, and I wanted to touch on. We've obviously sung Ben Hamer's praises quite a lot recently,
Yeah.
um, but I think there are certain occasions where he could probably do better. Um, it does kind of it's kind of hinting to me like there is a reason why he's not necessarily a first choice keeper at every club he's been at, and
Mm.
it will touch on it, I'm sure, towards the end of the podcast when we're just sort of identifying some transfer targets and positions and whatnot. But I think goalkeeper is realistically going to be a place where we will need to strengthen either in January or the end of the season, because I don't think Daniel
Yeah.
Backman will stay around much longer. And we've always had this big thing about competition for places and competing
Yeah.
to naturally better yourself and maintain a level of
Mm.
progress and that level that you need to have to play at the championship. And so yeah, I think Ben
I
Hamer
think
struggled a little bit, and but I honestly think the defense has really been
yeah.
highlighted as struggling.
I think that and the I think what I've been noticing is that I know we've said Ben Hamer's maybe let in a few in that period,
Mm.
but the amount of saves that he has
Oh yeah.
made that have been really good, I actually would say that on the whole, I think most of his performances have been more good than bad.
Yeah.
But he's having to dig out and make some very important saves in those games because we're just giving up too many chances. Um, so I think it's wider than Ben Hamer in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And
no, yeah, I think it's worth pointing out. I'm struggling when I'm watching the games to work out where the problems are because again, Hoot and Porteous, when you look at them, they've looked pretty solid. I can't believe I'm saying that, having shipped 9 goals in 4, but in parts they've looked pretty solid.
hmm.
I think the problem comes. Um, I think we're just a bit too gung ho, and the midfield leaves itself a bit exposed at times, which just needs tightening up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the problem that we've had, and it's really been highlighted in the last sort of 4 or 5 games, is that there is obviously a very distinct style of play now, and we're generally attacking a lot more than we were before,
Yeah,
and we're scoring a lot more goals, which is brilliant. But that obviously lends us to conceding a lot more than we were before, when we were sort of just being very tame and not really attacking too much. And I suppose it is to be expected, but we do leave ourselves exposed a lot, and there are far too many occasions where the opposition are breaking. We've committed a lot of players forward for
yeah,
an attack, and I agree. I think the midfield can be a little bit gung ho at times, but then what happens is whilst the opposition are counter attacking, um, I, it seems to be Portis that does it more, but it tends to be that one of the centre backs steps out, and then there's even more space for the opposition to exploit.
yeah,
And I think Bristol City did that really well. But even for Blackburn's goal, they just exploited a gap that no one tracked and no one went into, and
yeah,
it was a good finish from a tight angle, but I think there are some means of improvement, and obviously that's a good thing, isn't it? Because realistically, we're not looking this season to be challenging for promotion. I wouldn't say. We've all kind of agreed this was a rebuilding season, to maybe
mm,
try and mount a proper charge next season. And but yeah, there's plenty of things to improve on. But overall, I think we've played quite well, but we are, like the style of football is lending itself to be exposed a bit more. And
mm.
there are times where we do give up a lot of chances in quick succession, where
Yeah,
we don't need to.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the other one. And the other kind of point that I wanted to pull out from the festive period is I just feel like the final third we overplay sometimes. And
Yeah,
the final ball isn't good enough, and the decision making isn't good enough, um, and we just don't quite play the pass where it needs to be, and it's frustrating because we're looking good going forward, but I think the problem is we commit so many people going forward that there's almost too many choices, and then it breaks down, and then the opposition have the ability to counter on us. I mean, how many times did Plymouth do that today?
yeah,
Um,
and it led to a
it
goal
was
almost every time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, you can you can see why Plymouth are where they are in the table.
Mm.
Um, they gave up a lot of chances, but they were good going forward, and that Morgan Whittaker's clearly a talent.
Yeah, very good.
Um, but uh, but yeah, so I just want us to be more clinical in the final third. We've got into the right position so many times,
Hmm.
but yeah, we just don't quite get that cross right or that cut back right, or sometimes they just want us to shoot, just have the shot, because um, you don't know what could happen. Especially, I feel like we find ourselves a lot of the time getting near to the 6 yard, or we're attacking the box near the byline, um, and sometimes you just want to hit that ball hard and fast across the goal
Yeah,
because anything could happen. So yeah, the final third thing, and I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, mate. But if it just feels like that's also cost us with potential goals at the other end.
Yeah, yeah. What I did want to touch on actually was
Mm.
the mentality of the side, and I know we've said this a lot recently in terms of how well we've been playing on this good run of form, and how the mentality's changed so much under Ishmael, and we seem to be on a very upwards trajectory. And I think this festive period where there's a lot of games in quick succession has really shown how much it has changed. And if my memory serves me correctly, last season at this point, we were getting 1,000 injuries, and the
Yeah.
mentality was through the floor, and we really, really struggling as we were going into January, and then throughout the rest of the season, to be honest. But to come from behind at Blackburn, 83rd and 87th minute to win it as well was very impressive. We can write off Bristol City because
Yeah.
that was just an occasion where we looked very tired. Again, we didn't play very well, to be honest. That's probably the first game in a while which we've not played well in, and they were just
Yeah.
absolutely clinical. Um,
I think you're right. I think the Bristol City game, that's the for me that's that's where our style of play, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong in that manner. I thought there were too many players on the day that had bad games, and as you said, we gave up too many mistakes, and they just killed us off, unfortunately. So I was disappointed by the result, but I wasn't completely sort of through the floor. Like
yeah,
if we'd have lost 4-1 at home to Bristol City last season, I suspect it would have been a very, very different atmosphere and a response from sort of the Watford fan base um,
yeah, yeah. I
compared to
think
what it
it
was
it was
on Boxing Day.
it was a very just a gentle reminder of where we are realistically, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I don't want to say it kind of brought us back down to earth, because I don't think realistically anyone in our fan base has been sitting there going, we have guaranteed playoffs now. We're we're real contenders to be going up this season. No, we can appreciate we're playing some great football at the moment, and we're going on some good form, and we're getting behind the team, and that is perfectly acceptable, and is something that has been missing from Watford for the past sort of 5 years, to be honest.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. But
and
go on, mate.
I
Sorry.
didn't see it as a jump back down to earth. I was just seeing it as like, you know what, this is where we're at. Realistically, there are going to be times where we don't play well because we don't have the quality that other teams in the championship do, particularly higher than us. And there are going to be occasions where three or four key players in the spine of the team don't play well, and
Yeah,
we get punished for it because it's a competitive league. It's a high level. It's completely natural. It's a completely natural thing to do. Yes, I was
yeah,
frustrated by it, and it was frustrating to watch. But you know what? We turned it around, and we moved on to Stoke on Friday, and the mentality there was absolutely spot on, I think. And
oh, yeah,
I wanted to touch on Stoke and obviously Plymouth in a little bit more detail
yeah,
than just the themes, because they're more fresh and up to date for the viewers to enjoy. So James, obviously we were there
yeah,
at at Stoke at home. Dropped in, had a nice little pint at the Mad Squirrel before the game, which
yeah,
was
yeah. We
absolutely
did.
excellent. Good little atmosphere in there. Which I couldn't actually recommend that anymore to people visiting the Vic before match day, before the game. So that was excellent. And you know what, we played well, I think, and on the most part anyway. What do you think, James?
Uh, Yeah, I mean, I was pretty sort of vocal about that game. We with 11 players on the pitch, we go on to win that game. I think it's been covered quite a lot by various other sort of Watford pages. I really do believe that the referee killed us in that game. And
Yeah,
I don't usually like being that sort of person, unless it's Keith Stroud. I don't usually like being that person that sort of is on a sort of a fan channel saying, "Oh, the refs cost us here."
mm,
Um, but I do think that the referee had one of the worst refereeing performances that I've seen at Watford, and I'm judging that based on the volatility and the anger from the entire Vicarage Road Stadium that night. I've never seen Vicarage Road respond like that. There were so many decisions which were debatable at best, and the red card came from a series of poor decisions from the referee.
yeah,
Um, he didn't give the foul on Bio, and Bio's lashed out. And having looked back at it, you can see he does lash out. So yeah, it probably is a red. I don't think he actually caught the guy, but he does sort of chuck the
yeah.
arm out.
It's the intent though now, isn't it?
Yeah, I the referee should have blown for the free kick. But it wasn't just that incident. I will remember vividly in the first half, Bio nicked the ball from their centre back on the halfway line, and he's brought down, and the referee doesn't give a foul for that either. So you can see that frustration was building and building and building. Ismail got a yellow card for um, talking back to the referee. Livermore put a challenge in as well out of frustration, and I just really do believe that the referee that day lost complete control, and that led to the red card. But after the red card, I've got to say that that was one of the most enjoyable atmospheres at Vicarage Road I've witnessed in a long time. The entire Rookery
Mm,
stand was up and singing, and it felt like we came together as a team and as a club and as a fan base. And Ismail spoke about the goosebumps he got listening to the crowd willing the team across the line. And more importantly, I thought we carried a threat. I thought we could have gone
yeah.
and won it. Um, I was very, very disappointed with Stoke that
Yes.
day.
Yes.
They, I felt to me like they were going through the motions. So from the perspective of on paper, it's 2 points dropped, but it probably is a point gained in the sense of the context of the game. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to kind of cover that off really because
Yeah.
that was the game of all of the games this Christmas that made me think this team can go on and um, get more points than they'll lose in the second half of the season because they just felt so united as a team. And if we can just tighten up defensively, I think going forward we'll score more than we concede.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Um, I don't want to sound like a broken record too much about that referee. I'm similar to you in regards to the fact that I don't tend to dig out referees individually too much. I know I'm probably quite known to comment on the standard of officiating in the EFL, but not specifically to
Yeah.
one referee. It probably was the worst ever showing of a referee I think I've ever seen in any
Yeah.
context of football, and it was honestly baffling.
The the worst part about it is that on paper he would have got the decisions right. On paper, in his referee's report, it will say, yeah, red card, violent conduct, excellent, blah blah blah. But his actions and inaction throughout the entire game led to those decisions being made.
Yeah, yeah. He let temperatures get to boiling point through his own actions,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
caused that red card. How he doesn't give the foul in about 3 seconds before that, I genuinely do not understand what Bayer has to do. He's literally being rugby tackled over,
yeah.
and then the referee sees the elbow. So
And
it
I thought he
really
was playing
confused me.
yeah, because I thought he was playing advantage But when I've looked back at it, I'm sure the referee is signalling, up with his hand to say carry on, play on. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, very, very poor, very poor. But let's leave it there. Let's leave that there. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I wanted to add on to what you were saying really
oh yeah,
about the unison in the squad.
yeah,
And you know what, we carried a real threat even with 10 men. Looked like we
mm,
were the team most likely to score throughout the whole of the second half. Stoke were pretty abject for the whole evening, to be honest. One little mistake from us gave them a goal, which is
uh, yeah,
something that we something that we've spoken about many times on the pod, um, and is a real theme of this team at the moment. And like you said, if we could tighten up a little bit defensively, then I think we're onto a real winner with this team because we'll score a
yeah.
lot more than we concede, and more positive points will be on the board, um, and we'll just keep moving up the table. But
You kind
ultimately,
of
it was a positive evening. It was a
yeah, oh,
point
yeah. I
gained
mean,
rather than 2 points dropped. From my point of view, with 11 men, we should have won that, and definitely would have won that. But in the
yeah,
context of the game with 10 men, definitely a point gained.
yeah, and I kind of brought me onto sort of my final point really about the whole festive period and just the squad depth, and you speak about the mentality, which is great, and how hard they're working for each other. I think there was two players that I'd sort of pick up from the Stoke game, which kind of highlights the good and the bad in the squad depth. Well, actually, might speak about the third player, but the first one was Georgie Chakvetadze. He
Mm,
came in, um, and I thought he played really well against Stoke, and I thought he had another good game today against Plymouth.
mm,
There was all that chat, wasn't there, about the fact that he may go, he might leave Watford in January because he's not playing. And hopefully Ismail sort of talked him round because with Kayembe now going to AFCON, I think there's a spot there now for Chakvetadze. And he looks very comfortable on the half turn, doesn't he? And driving
yeah,
forward. I love the way he brings the ball forward. But for an excellent Jack Bonham save, wish he could have done that against Leeds. Um, he'd have had scored a screamer against Stoke, wouldn't he, from outside the area?
mm,
Cannoned off the bar in the end. But I thought, he's come in and done well. But then we had Tom Delabashiru at right back, and he's been there for a few games. And for me, that isn't really working defensively. It's okay going forward because he's a good ball player, but defensively he keeps getting caught out. I don't know what you think about that, mate.
yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because you're sacrificing the ability to defend one on one and work in a defensive unit with the rest of the defense for the ability to play the ball and get out of tight spaces and carry the ball forward. I think on the whole, for depth, it's not a bad thing, but to be honest, I would stop the experiment rather than try and persist with it. I just think we give up far too many chances because he's just through through no fault of his own. He just doesn't know where to be as a right back, um,
Yeah,
and it's so difficult to catch up and learn literally on the job. So you know what,
yeah.
fair play to him. But when he did move into midfield against Stoke towards the end of the game, I thought it was brilliant. So
I thought overall he had a yeah. I thought yeah, you're right. He had a really good game, in my opinion. Going forward, and he worked his socks off, and yeah, he did really well. But the goal did come down his side, and it wasn't particularly um, electric football from Stoke, was it? Literally kick a ball into the channel, get the cross in, and there you have it. But yeah, I think he's there out of necessity, isn't he? Because Andrews can't keep playing and keep playing, and we don't have
yeah,
Ngakia.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it highlighted some of the issues that we have, and we'll talk about those towards the end of the pod. And the third player I wanted to talk about, mate, if you don't mind,
mm,
I think James Morris has come in and done really well again. Um,
yeah,
Obviously Lewis is out with a hamstring injury. It doesn't sound like it's really bad. They suggested he was only going to be out for a couple of games, which is a real bonus for us.
yeah.
But I think Morris has come in and as you would expect, he's been really solid.
Yeah, yeah. I'm at a real loss with with James Morris, it's such a conundrum, isn't it? I personally don't think he's good enough for the Championship. Now, that's not to say he can't come in and do a job every now and then, but for a team that want to be challenging for the playoffs in the next, year, 2 years, however many seasons it takes, even as a squad player, he's not the kind of player you want to be bringing in the case of an injury for potentially long periods of time. Because whilst he is good defensively, and he is good defensively, he struggles a little bit one-on-one, and he really scared me with Morgan Whittaker today, because Whittaker is absolutely class, but yeah, it kind of scared me one-on-one in that regard, and he does work his socks off, and he has played well in quite a few games. I personally just don't think he is good enough for the level, but having said that, I have to give him credit, because he has come in and done okay. You know what? He's not necessarily given up hundreds of chances, and he doesn't stick out like a sore thumb in terms of his ability. But yeah, for me, it's he's just a little bit out of his depth.
No, that's totally fair, mate. That's totally fair, and I would agree with you. I think for me, you're right. It's his offensive attributes which let him down. I think he lacks a bit of the athleticism needed, and his final ball, as we've spoken about, sometimes isn't the best. But he hadn't played for a couple of months, not even in the squad for a while, and to be parachuted back in to do sort of 2 90 minutes in short succession, I thought fair play to him. Because he seems like a really nice, likable guy, doesn't he? So glad that he's still being given the chances. But yeah, you're right. If we want to progress, I think James Morris is probably not the option that we need as a depth option. But we are very thin down that left hand side now, aren't we?
Yeah.
You notice a difference when there's no Lewis and Sema.
Yeah. Really, they were forming a real great partnership down that left hand side, and it was really dangerous actually. But to see them both be out now with some sort of muscular injury in some form or another, it's just it's testing us a bit more. But you know what?
Yeah.
I think some players are responding well to it, and people are obviously profiting off it for getting some more game time. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously they're great players, and it's unfortunate that they're injured. But you know what? It's getting some younger players more game time, and which will be invaluable for the next few seasons if they're still around in the Championship. So James, just before we move on to discussing Plymouth in a little bit more detail, we actually recorded a couple little audio clips while we were at Stoke, and I've got to put in the sort of post match chat because it's a good little clip. So I will put that in now.
Mate. Well, post game, Watford 1, Stoke 1. What do you think?
Oh, I've got to say it. The ref cost us 3 points today. We were so unfortunate not to come away with all 3 points, even with 10 men. Stoke, sharp shop. They did not want to attack properly. And, just unlucky in the end, really.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, mate. The referees killed us. I think it's probably one of the worst performances I've seen in the EFL, not let alone Watford this season. In fact, probably ever. Still not seen it back, but for me, the Bayou incident, he should give the free kick beforehand. And there's the incident done. But as it stands, it's sent him off. And you're right, I'm very disappointed with Stoke, actually, to be fair. Felt like they were going through the motions for the rest of the second half. They didn't really know what they were trying to do. So, tough one. But yeah, I think we go on to win that game comfortably with 10 men. But I've got to say, I think that's the best Vicarage Road atmosphere I've seen in a long time.
Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely rocking today. Got to credit literally all of the fans. Everyone was joining in. Cracking atmosphere from start to finish.
And you saw that at the end, didn't you? You saw that at the end with Valerian Ismail giving a lot of praise to the Watford fans. at the end of the match. But yeah, finishes 1-1, and we'll dissect it now in the warm, in the dry, with some time to think on it. But it finishes here: Watford 2, Watford 1, Stoke 1.
See you later, guys.
All right, so now we've listened to the end of the Stoke game.
Yeah.
We're ready to move on to Plymouth today, and positives again, James. Very quickly, I thought we actually played really well for on the whole. Going forward, we looked really dangerous. Created a lot of chances. Ryan Andrews could have scored another one today. Plenty of chances created. We looked dangerous. We moved the ball with good intensity. It wasn't one pace, and we worked it very intricately. Just isn't it? It's just the giving the ball away and giving up easy chances, and in an atmosphere and a stadium like Plymouth at home park, they really get behind the team, and it's it was 5 minutes of constant pressure in spells, which happened 3 or 4 times throughout the game, and it led to 2 goals in the first half, 20 and 27 minutes on the board, and we were 2-1 down, and then very nearly at the end, we almost conceded and lost it if it wasn't for the heroics of Ben Hamer. So what do you think about that? Because we've kind of touched on the whole defensive issues.
Yeah.
But how can you
Well,
react to it?
Well, I think that what you've got to say is that it was just a brilliant game of football. And I thought all 6 goals were of really high quality. I don't think you can sort of say otherwise. Especially Plymouth's first goal, the volley from the corner. I thought we'd just done enough to sort of get away from that spell of pressure, and we dealt with the corner, and he pops up and he just guides the shot back across goal. Great finish. But yeah, it was a great game of football. Looked like a good ground, great following from Watford. The weather was atrocious, and I do think that had an impact on both teams defensively, because neither of the defenses looked very sort of solid, did they?
No.
The ball was skidding around and it was getting stuck up in the wind, and misjudging sort of clearances and headers all over the place. Yeah, we started really well. I thought we were on the front foot, and we created the more chances, and Kayembe pops up to tuck the ball in. Great work from Martins, I thought. Brought the ball down well, drove into the box and cut it back. What we were talking about, nice and clinical, very simple. And we're sort of 1-0 up, and at that point I thought, well, we look pretty confident, we look pretty solid, and then it all started to fall apart, really. Conceded those 2 goals. I just thought that we looked, as we said, so exposed at the back. No help from the midfield, in my opinion. I thought we were committing too quickly, too forward. We were committing forward too quickly, and overplaying around the box, and then we were just being sort of exposed. And Plymouth, who we know score goals at home, were pretty clinical and took their chances well. But you got to say, for me, the standout goal was Kone on the turn. Great finish. That was Abdi-esque, wasn't it? We spoke about Abdi on this pod before. Takes the ball on the edge of the box, opens his body up and bends it. Brilliant finish. And at that point, I thought, okay, good, nice. Get to half time, Val can get into the boys and sort of drill them for being too exposed, and we go and ship a 3rd goal, which was very frustrating and disappointing. But as we've said before, there's so much belief in this team to go and score, and there were so many chances out there. I thought, hey, we've got a chance of at least getting a goal and coming home with a point, or maybe snatching all 3. And we kept having chances. I mean, I thought the 3rd goal, great finish from Andrews, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Great ball into the box. Rivich caused the nuisance. Could have had a penalty for that. It dropped in, and it's a lovely little dink over from Andrews, and he got the goal that he deserved because he should have scored a couple in the first half. Or, yeah, to be fair, that cut across in the first half to Rivich, I think he should have just shot, and then he
Yeah,
just dragged another shot wide,
yeah.
went through in on goal. You've just got to say that it was a game of chances. And if we'd have been a bit more clinical, we could have scored 4 or 5. Likewise, Plymouth could have scored 4 or 5. It could have finished, 6, 7 all, really, couldn't it? A real
Mm.
mental game of football. But yeah, I think it was everything that we've just spoken about in a game of football in 90 minutes. Good fun going forward, good team spirit, goals spread all over the place. We weren't very clinical, and we were like a leaky sieve at the back.
Yeah, it's a good analogy, really, to to reflect the
Yeah,
defense at the moment. It is just pure vibes, isn't it? The defense.
yeah, yeah,
Right. So yeah, another game, another point gained. As far as I'm concerned, it's all positive. It's all in the right direction.
yeah.
Um, on another day we get 3 points, and to be fair, on another day Plymouth get all 3 points. It really could have swung in either direction. But yeah, just a really entertaining game of football for the
It was,
neutrals,
wasn't
wasn't
it?
it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
A
So if I,
bit more stress for me, but for the
oh,
neutral, I imagine it would have been fantastic.
oh yeah, everyone wanted soccer Saturday. We're absolutely loving it. It's from what I was being told. Um, so if I was to just some quick fire questions for you, mate,
Hmm.
off the back of the festive football. Um, if after the Preston game, where we've just gone 5-1, after that, if I'd have said to you we'd have gone and picked up 5 points from the next 4, how would you have felt?
Um, I won't lie. I probably would have been a bit disappointed, if anything, because given the run of games that we'd come through and done so well,
Mm,
draw against Southampton, that kind of stuff. We'd come through a real tough patch, which a lot of people thought we would completely crumble in, and we'd only lost to Ipswich and Leicester for 13 games or something crazy like that. So I think I'd have been a little bit disappointed, but you know what? This is where we're at, and I keep saying that, but it's true. This is where we're at with Watford at the moment. It's very much sort of we are rebuilding, and it'll come in time. But yeah, I think in honesty, I'd have been a little bit disappointed.
yeah. Would your opinions change given the context of those games? So the come from behind against Blackburn, the 10 men of Stoke, does that change it?
Yeah, I think so. I think the big thing for me over the past few seasons has been the lack of team spirit and cohesion. And as we've mentioned on the pod already today,
Yeah.
the level of team spirit and the ability to come from behind, pick yourself up off the canvas, and get something out of games has been evident recently. And in the context of each game, other than Bristol City, there's been a real example of cohesion and effort and team spirit and the desire to work for each other and be a real team and not 11 individuals, which is pleasing to me. So
Yeah.
I'd be happier given context. Yeah.
Nice. Good point. And then my last one, 2-point question, mate. I know it's Christmas, or it has been Christmas, so over the festive period, who is on the nice list and getting got a lovely present from Santa for their performances, and who's got a New Year's resolution to be much better in that Watford squad?
Oh, it's a good one actually. Good question. Good question. I'm going to put Ishmael Kone on the good list. He has been absolutely electric over the last 15 to 20 games now. And just today, he just oozes confidence and the ability
Yeah,
to turn in a tight space, and his ball carrying ability is excellent. And he's adding goals to his game now, which are fantastic. So he's got to be on the nice list for me. And tough one to think about for the naughty list, isn't it? Oh, I'm trying to think because it's been generally quite a quite a positive period, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go on,
No, I'm not.
you give yours, and I'll have a think about mine.
Oh, I didn't see this coming. I think for me, I'm going to have to put Militarovic for me on the wants to do better. Got a New Year's resolution to take your chance, man. Couple of times he's been bold in the sense that he said he comes alive in the box. The box is his office. Well, I've got to say there was a chance today. There was a chance at Stoke where the ball fell to him in the box and he fluffed his lines. So I think for me, Militarovic is probably the one that I'd put on the list of wanting to do a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you actually. Miletarovic probably would be on the can do better list. Again, he showed signs of improvement today, Plymouth,
Yeah.
And over the past 4 games, his link-up play is massively improving, and he's becoming more effective in the build-up play around and in the final third. It's not like you're playing with 10 men. But yeah, there's got to be a special shout out to Scott Oldham in the naughty list. Do better.
Yeah.
Right there, James. Should we move on to this special little quiz? And
Yes.
I'll let you intro it because there's a reason why we're doing it.
A reason why we're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Basically, the last time Watford had an away game on New Year's Day was in 2008, the 2007-2008 season. We played Southampton and we won 3-0. So in commemoration of that, I'm just going to ask you, Ned, as best as you can you name any of the players in the matchday squad that day?
Oh, okay. So that includes the bench as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does include the bench. Yeah, I'll be quite lenient with my help on this one, mate. I just thought it'd be something fun to do.
Yes.
Last time we won.
Okay. Before we round off the pod, excellent. Okay. In goal, I'm gonna say Mark Poom, maybe.
Mark Poom was on the bench.
On the bench.
Mark Poom was on the bench
okay.
that day. Yeah, so it's the other goalkeeper that season.
Oh, I can't quite remember the name of it.
Watford boy, from the academy.
Ooh. What does it begin with?
I think he saved 2 penalties in this match.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Squad number 16. He's got 2 first names.
I can't think off the top of my head here.
Well, I can come back to that one. Back to that one.
Okay. Centre backs. Oh, this is really testing me because I would have been 3 at the time. So, just for some context for you viewers or listeners, this is not an easy thing to have been sprung upon me about an hour ago before we started recording this. So, left back, we'll say I'm presuming Lloyd Doyley was kicking.
Lloyd was there. Lloyd started. I think he was at right back that day because there was a dedicated left back on the pitch.
Dedicated left back. Okay.
So you've got Lloydie and Mark Poom.
Right. Okay. We'll rattle some off, or try to anyway.
Rattle some off.
I'm going to say Darius Henderson was playing, or at least on the bench.
Tick VG played, scored a goal.
Excellent. Okay. Next person.
Strike partner that season.
Ooh, strike partner that season. Nathan Ellington.
Nathan Ellington was on the bench.
Oh, excellent. Cult hero at Watford.
Watford cult hero, Watford legend, Nathan Ellington.
Oh, who was his strike partner? That's it. It wasn't Marlon King, was it? No.
It was Marlon King. You've got it bang on. King and Henderson. Yeah, King, Henderson.
Okay, bench then. I'm gonna try and say maybe Lee Williamson. Maybe he was on the bench.
Lee Williamson started. If you get
Okay.
the other person on the bench, it was an unused substitute that day. If you get him, fair play to you. But yeah, Lee Williamson tick, he started.
Okay. Trying to think who would have been in the midfield. Or Gavin Mahon, was he there?
Gavin Marn, no, he was in the squad. He was left out of the squad that day.
Okay. This is tough now because there aren't many names I can think about. Was Adam Johnson there at the time? New Year's maybe?
No, he'd left by that point.
Okay. But probably thankfully on that
Yeah.
one. Right. Any more? Any more for any more?
One's a current Sky pundit. Does a lot of
Joby
AFL work.
McAnuff.
Joby McAnuff, yeah.
Joby McAnuff. Yeah, good player.
Very good player. The other wide player, Watford Academy graduate, played for us for many years, scored many goals, left for a few seasons before coming back to us in the Premier League.
Ooh, that is it. Well, coming back to us in the Premier League.
Yeah, he came back to us the season before in the Premier League.
Ooh.
He has a championship winners medal with QPR, I believe.
Ooh. No, can't think of that.
Final clue on this one: he scored for QPR against Watford when we beat them 3-1 in front of BBC in 2000. Tommy Smith, yes.
Of course, can't forget Tommy Smith. Right, any
So
more?
you've currently got Marlon King, Darius Henderson, Tommy Smith, Lee Williamson, Joby McAnuff, Lloyd Doyley, and off the bench you have got Nathan Ellington and Mark Poom. So you need a goalkeeper, two centre backs, a left back, and the other centre midfielder who scored. Yeah.
I think was Chris Eagles was before that, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was before then. Yeah.
Okay. I know there'll probably be lots of people shouting at their Alexas or whatever's playing the podcast right now. If you can stretch your mind back that far, I can only apologise. Right.
Both of the centre backs were full internationals. One ended up being Watford captain.
Jay Demerit, was he? Oh,
JJJ from the USA, yes.
Sweet. Okay, Jay Demerit. Danny Shitu.
Danny Shitu. Now we're playing.
Okay.
Now you just need the left back, goalkeeper, and the centre midfielder, goal scorer.
Any clues for the left back?
Left back. He played a full season for us in the Premier League at left back, I believe. Can't remember who we signed him from.
Is it a big player or is it quite niche to that time?
Specific to that time, but I wouldn't say he was a relatively big name for Watford.
Right.
Scored an excellent free kick at the start of that season against Wolves last minute.
Oh my goodness. Jordan Stewart.
Jordan Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And the final name on the team sheet, the goal scorer, signed for us in the Premier League season, ended up retiring the following season to this game through injury on his knee.
Signed in the Premier League. That is a tough one.
Yeah.
Ooh. Any other clues? Retire after that.
Yeah, I think he retired relatively early, but to be fair, he's probably in his 30s by the time he retired. I don't know enough about this. I don't know enough about him and his career, to be honest.
Okay, well, we can skip over that one. Goalkeeper left. Okay. I can picture him, but I can't think of the name. That's obviously not helpful for an audio podcast, isn't it?
No, not great.
Oh, goodness, what's his name? What is his name? It's gone. Can't think.
You give up?
I do give up. Yeah, 9 out of
It,
11.
9 out of 11 is not bad. The two you were missing, for those listening along, was Richard Lee in goal.
Richard Lee.
Richard Lee in goal, and the goal scorer was Damien Francis.
Oh.
Damien Francis in goal, yeah. Who was oh no, he wasn't substituted. Lee Williamson was replaced by Adi Mariappa, and John Joe O'Toole came on for Tommy Smith as well in that game.
Yeah.
And the unused substitute, for those who really know their stuff, was Lionel Ainsworth.
Wow.
That's pretty good, then, mate. I was very impressed. I was very impressed that you got a lot of those names. Fair play to you, mate. Yeah, not bad.
Well, yeah. Good ball.
3-0,
knowledge.
last away game on New Year's Day for Watford. So yeah,
Yeah,
mental, huh?
Not a bad season, that one. Started well.
Started well, yeah. Yeah, by that point, ladies and gents, we had 47 points at New Year's Day.
Wow, not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Right then, James, I think it is time to end the podcast on some little transfer, not speculation, but, where do you think we need to strengthen the squad?
We alluded to this a couple of couple of months ago now. I don't really think Val will be backed financially in a big way. I think we're too far off the playoffs really to gamble. But I think it's from what we've been saying, mate, isn't it? I think we need depth at sort of the wing back position, left and or right back, or someone who can play both. We probably need a midfielder to come in, maybe somebody who can help Jake Livermore. I'm genuinely concerned if Livermore gets an injury and Kayembe's out at AFCON. There's not really anybody that can drop into that defensive midfield position as competently.
Yeah.
So a centre midfielder. And the tough one really is, do we go out and look for a striker? Very tough position to fill in January, especially on a shoestring budget in the Championship. But personally, I think there's enough goals in the side now from all the wide players and Bayo, Rajovic and Healy, that if we can tighten up defensively and get some depth in, I think we'd probably be okay for the remainder of the season.
Yeah. The only one that I would look to add in there, maybe the goalkeeper position. I think we can all agree at Watford that Bachmann might particularly be looking to move on, whether that's January or the summer. I think he probably will be looking to move on because he's reaching his peak as a goalkeeper, and he'll probably be wanting to play week in, week out as a first choice, which he was for the most part at his Watford career, the first choice goalkeeper, particularly in recent times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at goalkeepers in the Championship, particularly people like Victor Johansson from Rotherham and those kind of goalkeepers.
Yeah.
They're not going to be cheap. Maybe not for January, but maybe that's one for the summer. Rather than
I think.
January.
Yeah, mate, you're bob on there, and I actually really like that Johansson signing. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. And if Rotherham were to go down, I wouldn't be disappointed if he was picked up. But maybe he's got his sights set higher potentially. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah. It's not a bad shout. I know he's very highly rated by them, and even in a team that finished sort of around the 20th position last season, he was the highest rated goalkeeper in the Championship. So he's quite proven.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this isn't the pod for individual players. We're just sort of outlining maybe the goalkeeper position.
Yeah.
As well as that, Loser might be on his way out as well. There's a bit of speculation about that. Again, he came on today against Plymouth and did nothing. So
I would have said he was ineffective coming on today.
Yeah, a little bit ineffective.
Yeah, I think his time is done, sadly. I just don't think he fits the system and the style of play anymore.
No, it
I
is a
don't
shame.
think.
It is a shame.
Yeah, it's a huge shame because what a talent he is. I just think some of the other pods, Voice of the Vic, were talking about it as well. I'm pretty certain they were. Um, he's just let himself down, I think, with some of his social media posts. You
Yeah,
don't need to be
recently,
saying that. You don't need to be putting that stuff out there. Um, very disappointing. So I think, yeah, I would try and move him on, get some money for him, and that might be where you can end up reinvesting in the squad.
Yeah, he's definitely a valuable asset. Let's just hope that scouts haven't been watching for the last sort of 3 months
Yeah. Well,
or
I think it
following
sounds
him
like
on
he can.
Twitter.
I think at least the Potsos can hide behind the fact that he might have been carrying an injury, hence why he's not been playing too much. So that might be able to get
Might be able to get over that
covered
one.
off. Yeah, someone might believe it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So thank you, Thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of the Yellow Squared podcast. Bit of a bumper edition. As I'm just reading this, we're ticking over an hour on the recording, so I hope you all enjoy this one very much. Yeah, festive period is pretty much over at this point, right? FA Cup next weekend against Chesterfield at home, so hopefully we can progress nicely and beat the curse that we sort of picked up in recent seasons of not being able to get very far in the FA Cup. But yeah, James,
Yeah.
any last little bits before we completely finish?
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Hopefully we get past Chesterfield. Concerned that we'll end up having to put out a pretty weak squad. And Chesterfield are going to come with a lot of backing. So that one might be the bookies' favourite for a little cup upset. Hopefully we can avoid that one because that won't be very nice. And I just wanted to finish with a small shout out to good friend Patrick, Forest fan. He's a regular listener, and we were chatting about Forest beating United, and he said that surely deserves a shout out on the pod. So there you go, mate. Glad you got the win, and hopefully you boys can move up the table. I always enjoy going to Forest. It's a decent away game, especially when we went there in 2016 for the FA Cup. Igalo
Yes.
got the winner.
Yeah.
That was a great day out. So there you go. Just wanted to finish with that one. That's for you, Pat.
Yeah, and not everyone can beat Man United at home, so
No.
tough thing to do that.
Yeah.
Right then, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you again very soon. Take care, guys.
Take care. Happy New Year, everyone.